Steven Spielberg's 1971 Duel is an action thriller which harnesses its elements of intensity to generate waves of suspense upon watching the monstrous machine of the unseen antagonist terrorize our unlikely protagonist, played by Dennis Weaver. Spielberg had a budget of only $400,000 and 13 days to shoot, and despite the restraints, Duel is considered one of the most successful TV movies of all time, with 2 Emmy nominations for winning Best Sound and Editing, and nominated a Best TV Film by the Golden Globes. And interestingly, it was the high concept of the film that brought in the spectators, rather than the importance of the presence of prominent stars at the time. For those of you unfamiliar with the term high concept, by the way, it essentially means that the film had such a cool idea and just wanted to pop off, basically. Recently something called K-pop Demon Hunters came out. I'd argue that's high concept. It's really quite new, it's unique, just like the film I'm talking about today, which essentially is just about a crazy truck driver who just decides, you know what, I'm just gonna target this guy. I'm gonna make his day hell. I'm gonna try and kill him. Unlike any film you've probably seen in the past 5 years, the marketing for Duel had delivered what it had promised spectators, with the clear presence throughout the movie of an action thriller. The tagline of "the most bizarre murder weapon ever used" entices spectators towards something completely new and unseen. The domination of the truck compared to the Plymouth is demonstrated, with essentially a shot from the ending of the film, highlighting the high concept type film, as we've discussed before, which was quite common in the 70s and 80s, with the superlative adjective most bizarre. The film aims to bring focus towards the contrast between the red Plymouth Valiant and the towering bulk of the truck, using colour excellently both in the truck and the earthly tone of the desert to paint the Plymouth as a fish out of water. Additionally, the sharp red of the sedan highlights the danger he faces in such a harsh environment, and with the film's time of release in 1971, America faced an energy and fuel crisis, which instilled public hysteria over driving long distances, therefore injecting spectators of the time with the combination of a likely threat of maniacs on the road, as well as being stranded in stretches of deserts. Sorry, I'm recording this while my dog's playing. I'll send a video of that. But the common thing with the fuel crisis, the hysteria, speaking of, there's a film called Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Was done in 1972. One of my favourite horror movies of all time. Watching it now, it's kind of silly, goofy, but it's also really scary. And obviously, if you've seen it, they get stranded because they've got a severe lack of fuel. They can't go anywhere, but they run into this crazy family. Sort of similarly in this film, stranded in the desert, killers knocking about. So yeah, that's just the common ground with a fuel crisis. Going back to overall designs, when I was mentioning the Plymouth being the red, the design of the truck is also truly horrifying, with license plates of previous victims plastered on the bumper like trophies, as well as low-angle shots to demonstrate its monstrous appearance, and the visual imagery of the Plymouth being tailgated by the truck in the mirror. It acts as a clear-cut antagonist without the need of a star in the driver's seat, allowing the screen dominance of the truck to provide the David and Goliath narrative. Spielberg excellently combines the use of sound and low-angle tracking shots to introduce the truck driver as a dominant and intimidating threat. As the spectator hears nothing except the rattling of the metal and the violent hum of the engine all through the diegetic sound. The lack of non-diegetic backing track here layers the scene to amplify the dread of the truck, fusing together with a moderate low-angle shot to then reveal the nose of the beast, occupying the space for shallow focus, forcing the spectator to bear witness. Additionally, the mechanical and rustic aesthetic of the truck, as well as license plates displayed like trophies, paints a clear picture of a dangerous antagonist, committed to destruction and undisputed rage. Immediately after, David overtakes the truck, and moments after, a medium still shot grasps the narrator for the movie. The narrative for the movie? Sorry, go back on that. The narrative for the movie. As the truck almost roars past him as it covers the entirety of the window, frightening both David and the spectator alike, as we are positioned to be in the passenger seat alongside him. Therefore, Spielberg constructs an intimidating antagonist without the need of a conventional narrative device such as monologues or dramatic scores. Instead, he utilizes the effect of realism with only diegetic sounds and carefully crafted shots to give off the impression of an imposing villain, with rear mirror shots sprinkled in to provide a visual imagery of the danger lurking right behind David. Duel's linear cat and mouse narrative, on top of the David and Goliath narrative, also makes room for the spectator to witness David's psychological torment the ruthless truck driver brings him. Upon entering the restaurant, he sits alone in the back and observes his surroundings with a careful combination of over-the-shoulder shots and disorientating non-diegetic track while an inner monologue plays out. The stress he feels is clearly demonstrated with close-up shots of his worried performance and POV shots of other attendees layering onto his fear and feeling of distress and helplessness, with meticulous still shots of the truck almost taunting him from the window as if he's being stalked by the monstrous machine. Dennis's performance here conveys the stressful scenario immaculately, with the monologue matching his body language of trauma and strain, as well as the self-inflicted blame for not taking the chance to leave much earlier. Hello, Aubrey! I'm going to keep that in because Aubrey went to say hello. I'm going to also show another picture of my dog, if that's okay. I love my dog. Duel's editing excels within sequences especially featuring pursuing scenes of the two rivals of the road. Spielberg utilizes quick cuts in a mini-montage fashion to encapsulate the thrill and the stress of the scene. During these scenes, the rapid fire of the extreme close-ups, as well as the genuine fear in David's eyes, blends with the crashing diegetic sounds of the truck's horn to create moments of suspense. The audience feels David's growing discomfort of the Reaper's scythe tailgating him through the open roads of America. One of the main techniques used throughout the film is cross-cut editing, which fuses together with the scene of continuity editing, which works excellently to position the audience in the motion of the film. Additionally, the use of cross-cutting assists the suspense within the action scenes of the truck encroaching upon David, and with lead editor Frank Morris, a lot of the film's editing was compromised of cutting unnecessary scenes, giving the film another layer of realism and genuine dread on open stretches of road. Following the train sequence, the truck driver shifts it into high gear with the action. As David attempts to make a phone call to report the driver, the nefarious driver loses his patience. In a dramatic sequence, the driver plows into the phone booth, significantly damaging the woman's property, by the way, and showing that he is willing to go to extreme measures to murder David, even if it means harming others to do so, essentially stripping any form of humanity away from the monster behind the beast. Subtle use of foreshadowing is in play here, with the slow tracking shot revealing reptiles and arachnids, potentially playing on the audience's common phobias of dangerous animals. Additionally, the lethality associated with these creatures is reflective of the driver. The driver toys with David like he's fallen right into his web. Here, the costume choice for David does shine through, as well as the selection of each environment in the scene. His smart attire is no match for the harsh nature of the desert, adding to his vulnerability and fears of such a foreign place, as his mental state deteriorates the further the film goes on, as evident with the inclusion of the non-diegetic sharp violins to display the feeling of disorientation. The ending sequence of Duel amplifies the intensity of every other encounter, as the Plymouth is on its last legs due to problems with the radiator, as foreshadowed excellently early in the film. I mean, he was warned. Despite the odds stacked against David, he triumphs over the Goliath of the movie, as he utilises the bloodlust of the truck driver to cause a fabricated collision in which the smoke and flames of the engine block the driver's mirror, with the flames representing the ideology of hell as he plummets down the mountain, destined to suffer for his sins. The slow-motion shot of the two vehicles tumbling down the hill feels exhilarating, aiming for a visceral reaction of goosebumps and cheers for the audience, as the everyman they could relate to defeats the antagonist despite being oppressed and dominated throughout the movie, as confirmed with the close-up of blood dripping from the devil's chair. The ending shot is a fade to a static shot, with David's silhouette positioned centre frame as the backdrop of a beautiful sunset tints the atmosphere with a wave of warmth, symbolic of the serenity David feels that he may experience another day alive. To conclude, Duel is a masterfully crafted piece of cinema which harnesses the emotions of the spectator in such a way where it provokes waves of stress, relief, and excitement, all in one road quest to defeat the monstrous threat of the truck driver. Dennis Weaver plays the everyman character well enough to which the audience can see themselves having similar psychological reactions to the pursuing scenes, and considering the time restraints Spielberg faced with shooting such a high-concept movie, he delivers a film which does not fall short of expectations, with meticulous use of sound design of the non-diegetic chaos of the truck, as well as the disorientating instruments further on in the film, earning its Emmy for Best Sound Design and Editing. If you are interested in the origins of Spielberg's early rise, look no further than his first movie, a piece which arguably creates the lost magic of modern action thrillers.